Good morning, Dolphins fans. Welcome to the channel. Thanks for checking it out. You guys fall in. I appreciate each of you coming in and checking this out. I wanted to get on here and I wanted to talk about everything before I went off to church for the day. Um, Holy crap, we've got a bunch of things to talk about. I don't. Um, well, I mean, if you guys watch any of the mainstream sports channels, ESPN and all these other places that are talking about, how the Dolphins did in the draft and how other teams did in the draft. I mean, some of it's so off base it cracks me up. It just proves to me that they have no idea what's going on within the Miami Dolphins organization, and it's a little disconcerting. But at the same time, I mean, would we really want it any other way? I mean, I don't. I want it this way. I want us to be predicted to be last place in the AFC East. I want nothing but hatred and vitriol from mainstream sports media and everybody else. That's what I want. I want every other team in the AFC East to sleep on us. I want all these things to come true. Um, it'll just make it that much sweeter. So we can start off talking about the actual draft and the class of players that we brought in. Um, we started off with 10 picks in the NFL draft this year, and we wound up having 8. Now, we traded a couple off for this and that to move up once, and a couple other things. But with that, it doesn't really it doesn't rub me the wrong way that we did what we did in this draft. And I'm gonna kind of explain a basis of my basis of why. Um, well, so let's look at what we had, and we'll go from there. In the first round, obviously, we chose Kenneth Grant. Brought him onto the team. Fantastic defensive tackle, quite possibly one of the best, if not the best, defensive tackle in this draft. Um, I can't. I've already talked a little bit about him in a previous video, so I'm not going to go too much in depth on some of these guys that I've already talked about. But if you've been paying attention to the draft at all, or college football, or any of those things, you know the kind of player that Kenneth Grant is, and not just player, but the kind of person he is, the attitude he carries, the identity that he has for himself, his work ethic, all those things. It is exactly what we needed on this team, especially in our tackle room, in our defensive lineman room. Um, it's fantastic to have him. Couldn't be any more excited about it. And like I said, immediately begins to address this. You see this pattern with the draft, and we're gonna notice it as we go through this list. The Dolphins addressed needs in this draft, and not just physical needs from a position standpoint. We addressed needs from an attitude and mentality standpoint, which is something that if you watch my channel or have been watching anything that I do, since the season ended, there's one thing that I've been constantly talking about, and it's identity and mentality and those things that are intangibles that you can't really coach. Either you have these things or you don't. You have a work ethic or you don't. You have the proper attitude or you don't. You're a fighter or you're not. And that's what I was seeing. So first thing right off the bat, they grabbed Kenneth Grant, and I'm like, well, okay, this is good. I'm happy about this. Then they trade up in the second round and wind up snagging Jonas Savaianea. And holy crap, at this point, I'm in heaven. And after that, after that video, or after that pick, when that day was over in the draft, day 2, I made a video, and you can go back and watch it. The first 10 seconds of the video is me just sitting there smiling at the camera, and I didn't know what to do with myself. I was super happy. That's exactly what I wanted. Addressing needs with not just the players that are decent or good, but addressing needs with players who at the same time carry a proper attitude and a proper mentality for the game of football, a proper mentality for improvement, for long-standing success. And that's exactly what they were doing. And like I mentioned in that previous video of mine, Jonas Savaianea, the guard out of Arizona, he is a dog. He doesn't get pushed around. He pushes people around. He is a player mover. And having him on this team, like I said, I guarantee you Kenneth Grant and Jonas Savaianea will be starting for this team. Barring some kind of miracle in free agency coming up. Right now, those two players are going to be starting for us. Guaranteed. Can't be more excited about that. It's exactly what we needed. Liam Eichenberg will not be a starter on this team. And that's a big need. And instantly, when you fill in that last little piece of our offensive line, instantly when you do that, our offensive line goes from last in the league, 28th, 29th, 30th in the league. We jump to 15th in the league at minimum. Like, I see a big jump here in our offensive line capability. And it gets better. And I know that some people aren't going to agree with what I'm about to say later on in this live stream, but it's going to get better. So then in the 5th round, which was, the very beginning of the 5th round, which was our next pick, we ended up grabbing at 143. We grabbed Jordan Phillips. Not that Jordan Phillips, a different Jordan Phillips. A good Jordan Phillips. And like I said, I'm surprised he was still there in the 5th round. I was expecting him to go in the beginning to the middle of the 4th. So having him sitting there in the 5th round right at the beginning, the Dolphins would have been fools not to take him, especially since we need a lot of players on defensive line. We grabbed him. He's another person to fill in that defensive line, and not just fill it in. Once again, he has those intangibles that this team desperately needs. That fighter mentality, that hard work ethic. The guy with a chip on his shoulder that has something to prove. That's Jordan Phillips. He might not, I don't think he's going to be a starter, but he's definitely going to be rotational. This is not a Mo Kamara type player. This is not that kind of guy that might not start for the first year or might not play. He's going to play. So it's a fantastic pick. The first 3 picks were incredible, and like I said, at this point I have good things to say about the rest of the draft class, and I'm excited about their potential. But I mean, beyond the 5th round, you can't really guarantee that they're going to be starters or major contributors, right? You just can't. It doesn't work that way. These are later round picks. But at the same time, I can pretty much guarantee some of these players are going to be making the team, if not almost all of them. So, moving on. The first one we grabbed after Jordan Phillips was at pick 150. That's 7 picks later. And we grabbed Jason Marshall Jr. Okay, he's a cornerback, if you didn't know. Go look up some of his tape. You can see it on YouTube. He's a good player. I foresee him making the team, definitely. I don't know how much of a contributor he's going to be, but he's definitely one of those pieces that we can develop and grow. And he's got that proper mentality, that proper work ethic. Like I said, you're going to notice a trend in this. You're going to see all these players carry one specific characteristic that's the same with all of them. And it just happens to be things that this team desperately needs to have. And we can be excited about this. This is the one thing that this team desperately needed, was a mentality and an attitude and a work ethic that wasn't very common with a lot of players on our team. And it seems like they're definitely trying to address that. After Jason Marshall, we drafted safety Dante Trader. Now, is he going to be our starting safety? I don't think so. But does he have the ability to be a rotational piece? A role player on this team? You bet. That's what we need. We need role players. We need people with positive attitudes, with a drive, and he's got it. Like I said, can't even be mad about any of these picks. Ollie Gordon was next in round 6. He was our 6th round pick. We didn't have a 6th round pick. We ended up trading for it. Ollie Gordon, if you don't know who this is, I'm shocked, number one, that he was there in the 6th round. He should have been gone before that. The fact that he was there and the fact that we grabbed him was awesome. Okay? This guy is your bruiser running back. He's your between the tackles running back that doesn't have that high speed. He's got a little bit of breakaway speed, but not much. The big thing about him is he's a wrecking ball. The fact that we grabbed him, I'm stoked. And those of you that are saying, well, they should have grabbed Martinez from Miami. No. I mean, I like Martinez. In fact, I had Damian Martinez being drafted in a bunch of my mock drafts. But that was only because Ollie Gordon wasn't there. Ollie Gordon is amazing. I'm very happy to have him on our team. This is a guy that's going to give us a whole different identity in the run game, especially if our offensive line plays like now I'm expecting them to play. No more hope. I'm expecting our offensive line to make massive steps forward. And if they do that, if they do what I'm expecting and what I'm seeing possibly happening, if they do that, Ollie Gordon's going to have himself one heck of a year running between the tackles. It's a salt to the pepper. It's a yin to the yang of our zone run game. Having the ability to go between the tackles and punch somebody in the mouth when we have to it's great. Pardon me. It's great to be able to have that. So to be excited about it, I mean, there's nothing wrong with being excited here. Ollie Gordon is good. He's a good player. He's a different kind of running back than what we've had in a long time. So having him, if he plays up to snuff, once again, you're looking at a work ethic and a dog mentality and an attitude that he has that's going to be infectious for the rest of the team. Every offensive lineman loves to see a running back go between the tackles, off their butts, and smash somebody forward for 8-9 yards. That's what this guy does. He's a fantastic running back. I'm very excited to have him. I can't wait to see what he does for this team in his first year in the NFL. Then this one's different now. I said in the 6th or 7th round it would be good to grab a quarterback. And what did we do? In the 7th round, we grabbed Quinn Ewers. Now, the thing about Quinn Ewers, everyone had him going before the 7th round. And the fact that he was sitting there in the 7th round when Miami Dolphins came to their 231st pick, okay, obviously, he's got a better arm than Tua, okay? Does that mean I think that he should be starting? Absolutely not. Do I think right now I have him above our second string quarterback in Zach Wilson? No, I don't. But this is a guy that is, okay, some people said they saw him when he got drafted and how he seemed upset. He wasn't upset at getting drafted by the Dolphins. Guaranteed. He was upset because he was there in the 7th round at pick 231. That's why he was pissed. And if you'll notice, during that video of him getting drafted, he grabbed that hat and he slapped it on really hard. His face said it all. He was mad that he didn't get picked before that. He was mocked in the 5th. A couple guys had him in the 4th round. 5th and 6th round. I would say 5th or 6th round he should have been gone. But he made it to the 7th round. Miami grabbed him. It's a great pick for us. We had a need for a third string quarterback. Somebody young that we could develop and work with. And that's Ewers. And once again, Ewers is a very confident quarterback. His leadership is infectious. He is a fighter. He doesn't mind taking hits. He plays through injury. He's a tough guy. That's what we need. We need these players on this team, even if they're not a starter, like Quinn Ewers. We need those kind of players. Ladies and gentlemen, those are the things that this team needs. And every player that we've drafted is known for their attitude and their mentality and their work ethic. how can we be disappointed knowing that that is what the Dolphins went for? While addressing needs for the team, their main focus, very obviously and clearly, was on the intangibles of these players. What's their work ethic like? What's their attitude? Are they fighters? Every single one of these players fits that bill. So, regardless of some of these players being starters, yeah, some of them aren't going to be starters. But as far as the draft class goes, for all the players that I've talked about so far, I see every single one of these players making the team and will contribute in some way. The one that I'm not sure about, and it's kind of funny because of his name, it seems like at this point the Dolphins just decided, well, his name is Biggers, so we'll draft him. I need to do a little more research on Biggers. I'm not going to say that he has the work ethic and the attitude and the mentality that the Dolphins need desperately. I'm not going to say he has it because I don't know much about him. So, as far as Zeke Biggers go, another defensive tackle. Obviously, they're trying to bolster the defensive line, and having as many players as they can in that room is a good start. So, I can't say much about his work ethic, his mentality, his identity, but the fact that every other player on our draft list carries those qualities, I would venture a guess to say that he probably does as well. But who knows? It's the last pick for us in the draft. It's still a good pick. It's in a need that we have. Now, if you look at this, you see 3 defensive linemen, a guard, a cornerback, a safety, a running back, and a QB. And if you go back and you look at exactly what I said for the last 2 months that this team is needed, if you go look, every single one of those things, that is the exact setup for every mock draft that I did. Defensive tackle, guard, safety, cornerback, running back, and quarterback. That's the model that I followed. And I even made a joke a couple times saying, well, there's no way they're going to do exactly what I think they should do. And in some ways they didn't. They traded off a couple picks, but in the same time, we need to remember that we acquired a 2026 third-round pick, already starting to build for next year's draft as well. All of this goes into the fact that they are in kind of a soft rebuild. Not a heavy one, not a burn it all down fire sale type of rebuild, but they are trying to reshape this team. And I don't think that's a bad thing. And also, with people are afraid of the soft rebuild thing. When you hear that word, oh no, that means they're trying to tank. No, that doesn't mean they're trying to tank. A soft rebuild is the opposite of that. A soft rebuild is trying to rebuild a little bit here and there, but also trying to maintain winning football ways. And from last year, it's definitely needed. Some things needed to be rebuilt, and one of the main things that needed to be rebuilt or reshaped was the overall mentality and identity of this team. These players is how we do that. It's very obvious to me. So with that, in this draft, in the grand scheme of things for the Miami Dolphins, I cannot give this draft anything lower than an A-. I can't. I'm giving this draft an A- for the Miami Dolphins. If I had to do it, gun to my head, right now, rate this draft A-. And I'm giving the A- only because we did lose 2 draft picks. Granted, the 2 draft picks weren't anything crazy. It was the 3rd round, and we lost the 7th round overall. But we gained a 6th round. And we gained a 5th round. It is what it is. I can't be disappointed. Like I said, gun to my head, I'm going to say A-. A- on this draft. Probably one of the better drafts that I've seen in a long time from the Miami Dolphins. They didn't bite on the candy. They got players that we needed with the proper identity and attitude and work ethic. And with that, I really don't think this was a Chris Greer style draft. It didn't look like it. Didn't feel like it. So, it's an interesting one. And then, so A minus on this draft so far. And like I said, we'll see what these players end up doing, how they end up performing. But I'm going A minus on the draft. And then we look at the free agents, the undrafted free agents. And there's some names on here that I don't understand how they didn't get drafted. I don't get it. There's players that were 4th or 5th round predicted draft picks, even a 3rd round predicted draft pick, that never got drafted. Unreal, right? I mean, and some of these I need to do a little more research on, so bear with me here. But there's a lot. I think there's 14 or 15 undrafted free agents, and the Dolphins just went nuts. Like as soon as the draft ended, they're like, bam, 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 bam. You get a Dolphins invite. You get a Dolphins invite. You get it. It was crazy. And I wasn't even going to begin to try to do shorts every time that we signed an undrafted free agent, because that would have been nuts. I would have been constantly doing them. It was just bang, 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 bang. A couple of them that stick out to me. Number one is the center Addison West out of Central Michigan or Western Michigan. That guy was, I think he was top 12 centers in the draft. And he was predicted not to go undrafted. Like this guy he's good. He's big. He's strong. One of the highest rated centers in college football. Not the highest, but one of the highest. You gotta like it. You gotta like that addition. And like I said, Addison West very well might not end up being a center. The move from center to guard is very doable for most linemen. Maybe I shouldn't say most linemen. I would say that I did it, not in the NFL, but in college. I made that move. I also made the move from guard to tight end. But as far as linemen go, he's a great lineman. I'm very happy. Let's see. Yeah, dude, Cap, me too, man. I was super happy about this draft. I even like the undrafted free agents list that we have. I'm excited about a lot of these players. The safety John Saunders from Ole Miss, he's one of the guys that I ended up taking a couple times in the 7th round in my mock drafts. So he's a ball hawk. The guy makes plays on the ball, and that's what we want from a safety. Dude, yeah, exactly. I like I said, I gave, I don't know if you were in here when I said it, but I gave this draft an A minus, and I'm giving our undrafted free agents list an A minus as well. And I can't remember the last time that I've been so encouraged and so pleased with the undrafted free agent list and our draft as a whole. I can't remember the last time. And I've been a Dolphins fan since I was 3 years old. Granted, I wasn't following the draft back then. But I'd say for the last 25 years, I've been following the draft. And I have never... I don't remember the last time I was this pleased with the draft. But it's also been a while since it's been so clear the things that we need on this team. But I tell you what, I've never had my mock draft scheme be followed by the actual team in real life. This is the first time. Defensive tackle, cornerback, safety, quarterback, running back, and offensive guard. I've never had that happen. This was the first time. Super excited. Can't go wrong. Couple other names here on this list of undrafted free agents that stick out to me. Offensive tackle from Western Michigan, Ted Kushi. Now, Ted Kushi and Addison West that I just got done talking about, those two players played together. And so those guys have a very good working relationship together. They played right next to each other. I like them both. I do think that those players will end up being on this team. In what aspect, I don't know. But once again, I know we signed Liam Eichenberg to a contract. I know. But I'm foreseeing Liam Eichenberg having a very difficult time staying on this team. He probably will be on the team, but I don't see him playing very much. I see other players on this undrafted free agent list that I think would be better start playing in a backup role than him. So I mean, I don't know. Also, the other thing that really struck out, Eugene Asante, the linebacker from Auburn. This is another smash player. I'm very excited about him. I can't wait to see what he does. At the least, I see him making it on special teams and sticking with the team. And when you're one of these undrafted free agents, that's how you get into a team. That's how you get going. I definitely see Eugene Asante making this team. The one thing that just blew my mind is B.J. Adams, cornerback from UCF. That's another one that I think is going to make the team, probably in a special teams role to start, but also this is a player who learns fast. One of the most coachable players in the draft. So, very excited to have him. Offensive lineman Josh Preeb from Michigan. That's another player that stands out to me. Like I said, these offensive linemen that we signed in this undrafted free agents list, I'm stoked about every single one of them. I just can't wait to see how they do. And like I said, once we have rookie minicamp, we'll get a little clearer picture of some of these guys that are coming in. A couple of them have been guaranteed pretty good amounts of money to come in. $200,000-$300,000 for a few of them. So, like I said, some of these guys should not have been undrafted. And I'm glad the Miami Dolphins got who they got. Also, Kobe Bryant wasn't drafted. You guys believe that? I had him as a into the third, beginning of the fourth round pick. Unreal. And I wasn't the only one. A lot of people had him going, pretty quick. But there was, Kobe Bryant ended up going to Atlanta, I think. Just crazy. But the Dolphins ended up signing a gob of wide receivers. Just tons of them. Let me count here. 1, 2, 3, 4 wide receivers. We signed 4 wide receivers. Now, aside from A.J. Henning, he's a small receiver. He's like 5'10". We signed A.J. Henning. He's an amazing route runner out of Northwestern. So, and he's fast. So, I mean, I'm okay with that. Whatever. It's a free agent signing, undrafted. So, other than that, the other 3 wide receivers, Monterey Baldwin, Andrew Armstrong from Arkansas. Monterey Baldwin is from Baylor. And Theo Weiss from Missouri. These guys are huge. These are big receivers. Something we need. We need a couple big receivers. For those 50-50 balls, for those go up and get it in the back of the end zone type players. These are those guys. Not the fastest in the world. They still have some speed. But they're huge, and they got big wingspans. Catch radius. It's huge. Something that the Dolphins don't really have. Outside of Jonnu Smith. But when you have a Jonnu Smith being your big go up and get it ball catcher, you've got big guys going up against him. And when you have a wide receiver with that ability, that mismatch is much better. Going up against an outside cornerback in the back corner of the end zone, that's the whole purpose of a big wide receiver is. So having that, it's huge. And I hope that one of these players shines out and ends up making this team as a capable situational wide receiver. That's what we need. These are all things that we can be very, very excited about. Allow yourselves to be excited about these things. It's not the same as unrealistic happiness, unrealistic confidence. This is not unrealistic to be excited about what the possibilities are here. There is a way going forward for this team to have success. and to be better than last year. On paper, we had a lot of good players on our team last year. And when you put them together, we ended up with diddly. And that has a lot to do with some of the intangibles on some of these players. So then we go out in the draft and we get players to fix that issue. Players that have the intangibles that you dream of as a football coach. Work ethic, attitude, drive, strength, fighter's mentality. That's what we got. Show me one player, if you don't believe me, show me one player on our draft board that we picked up that doesn't have those things, that isn't oozing with those things. Go look at their reviews and their scouting reports. Every single one of those players in those scouting reports, it says the same thing. What up, Anthony? It says that they are fighters. They don't quit. They have a drive. They're some of the most coachable players. It's great news. I'm excited. I'm giving it an A- for the draft and an A- right now, if I had to, gun to my head, on this undrafted free agent class. Now, with that, we have a very, very clear direction now. There are things that we still need, sure. It's much clearer, and that huge gap. Oh, let me read this. I think the issue is our fan base has said that we didn't get the corner or safety that they wanted, and they have to give our draft harsh grade. Well, here's the thing. We still need a corner, and I'm going to talk about that in a second, the things we still need. That's kind of where I was getting to, but we do still need those things. However, when we have needs, let's say you have a desperate need at defensive line. Desperate. A dry defensive line room, short of Zach Sealer and a couple other minor role players. We have that at defensive line, that need. And we have a cornerback need. So when you have a capable defensive line with a shutdown edge and a strong interior defensive line, when you have that, how long do those cornerbacks have to cover somebody? Not very long. You don't have to cover forever. You don't have to cover for 4+ seconds. Because in this league, I don't care what cornerback you are, if you have to cover a receiver for more than 4 seconds, you're fried. You're fried. Yeah, and that's what I'm getting at. I understand why they did the focus on defensive tackle, because the defensive tackle helps our DB room. It helps our cornerbacks and our safeties in not having to be stuck in coverage for so long. But I agree with you. We do need another cornerback. Now, with that, we're moving into the needs that we have going forward out of the draft. Yes, we have needs, absolutely. I would say on offense, the only thing that I would like to add, really, is another guard and another tackle. I'd like to add those things. I'd like to pick up somebody in free agency for both those positions. Now, as far as a guard goes, there is still 2 fantastic guards that we could add that would be a great help at an inexpensive price. That is Will Hernandez from Arizona and Dalton Risner from the Vikings. Either one of those players would help us out immensely. Yes, Anthony, dude, you get it. They're drafting old mentality, building the trenches, and when it's a pass-heavy league, you say we should have focused on the defensive backfield, in your opinion. I understand. I do. But there are more availability in the defensive backfield in free agency than there is for defensive tackles. And I feel like that's why they focused on that, is because also the players that were available made more sense for us with defensive tackle in the draft. Now, we move into free agency. You have some good cornerbacks and safeties that are available. Not great, but good. Also, I'm not going to say this towards Cam Smith because I don't think that Cam Smith is going to be able to improve enough to be able to contribute like we want him to. I think that Cam Smith is likely not going to be an effective part of this team. But I want to present as evidence Mr. Storm Duck. Some people don't like him. I do. He was an undrafted free agent last year, and he grew in leaps and bounds this last season. So much so that he was trusted over 8-year veterans and other players with more experience, including a second-round pick named Cam Smith. He was trusted above them to take on that fill-in role for cornerback. Started a few games, played pretty well. Made a few rookie mistakes. I agree, Cam Smith needs to go. But Storm Duck has the ability to grow in this team. And I really think, I've been saying it for a couple months now, Storm Duck is going to be making a step this year. He's tough. He's a first in, first out kind of guy. Easily coachable. And he makes strides in his game. He's been improving. Not once has Storm Duck taken a step back since he's joined this team. He's constantly improving himself. So I do think Storm Duck is going to have a bigger role this year. Am I saying he's going to be the next coming of the best cornerback in the league? No, I'm not saying that. But I'm saying he has the ability to be a contributor, a big one, on this team this year. I think we're set at nickel. I think that we could use one more cornerback. As far as safety goes, that's pretty simple. You have a perfect scheme fit in Indianapolis, sitting there as a free agent, waiting for someone to call him. You have Julian Blackmon sitting there. He's a good safety, and he would be a fantastic addition to the safety room, and that would bolster us a little bit. Storm Duck has the ability to play slot and on the outside. In fact, he did more outside coverage last year than in the slot, and he played well. Not great, don't get me wrong, I'm not going to say that. We do need another boundary corner, I agree. It would be nice, that's what I was saying. It'd be nice to have one more boundary corner, and I think we're set at nickel. I do. I think Storm Duck is a good guy to have come in when players need a break or when we have an injury, and I think Storm Duck can cover the outside. But time will tell as far as that goes. Like I said, I think it's impossible to hit every single need in the draft. But I think that what they did, like you said, Anthony, was that we had needs in the defensive back room and at defensive tackle and guard, and they kind of picked guard and tackle to go with. As something ridiculous like adding 1,100 pounds of linemen in this draft that's an impressive number. And with that, yeah, it did leave a little bit of room for needs. Yeah, I don't know. I need to look more at the cornerback availability in free agency. There's a couple. Samuel and a couple others. They're not super young, but they're not old either. I'd have to look more, and I'm going to do a needs video here in the next couple days, kind of covering where I think we could go with some of those needs. But and you just mentioned Anthony Weaver. Anthony Weaver, this is where Anthony Weaver is going to have to earn his money, because I realistically think that we're going to go into this season with a slight need in the defensive backs room for the Dolphins. I do. I think that's going to happen. And I'm treating this like Jalen Ramsey's not going to be there. Yeah, 25. That's fair. Yeah, I'm not sure. I need to look. I'll have a better idea of that when I make the video in a couple days. So be on the lookout for that, and I'll address that for sure. Yeah, what you're saying, Anthony, it makes sense. It's very sensible, and I understand players who wanted to go cornerback and safety more than defensive line. I feel like it's 6 in one, half a dozen in the other at that point. I didn't think that every single thing was going to be able to be addressed. However, we did add a safety and a cornerback in the draft itself, and then some more in the undrafted free agents addings. But we need a veteran presence in the cornerback room. There's not much of that. about after, well, let's see, after, if Jalen Ramsey goes, I think the most experienced one we have is Kader Kovu. Um, and he's young, so another undrafted free agent. So the Miami Dolphins, they've had some luck in UDFA signings for cornerbacks, but I do think that they're going to need. You're right. They're going to need. Chicken and the egg. That's actually a really good reference. I personally, I think that you need to build from the line. That's just me personally, but that's also because I was an offensive lineman and a defensive lineman and a tight end, and I just kind of I feel like that's more important to me personally. I feel like that's more important to build there first, only because I feel like a good defensive line and linebacking core will benefit cornerbacks immensely, way more than I feel like cornerbacks benefit defensive line. They do benefit the defensive line, but I feel like the other way around is kind of the more desirable way to build a team. But that's just me personally. People can have a different opinion there. My main thing is that I do feel like we need to add one more safety, one more cornerback, and I think I would be a lot more excited about our defensive possibilities. We have to keep in mind that we're probably not going to have Jalen Ramsey. There's a chance we could have him. Like I said, it does help. It does help, Anthony. An elite back, an elite. Now we're saying elite. We're talking about a Jalen Ramsey type of player. I would disagree there. I think that the front seven is going to help the back end more. But like I said, it is a group of players playing defense. All the players help the other players. Every position is designed to benefit other positions. That's the way football works. We can agree on that. I think at that point it's a preference thing. And as long as they're doing something to improve, that's the bottom line for me. Is if I see an effort at improvement, I do see a way that we can grow here. You know what? Let me see here. Hang on a second. Let's look this up. I want to see. There was a couple that I was looking at, and I want to see what's available. Yeah, I like I said, I've been saying the whole time that we should pick up a quarterback almost every draft. I do think Quinn Ewers is a decent quarterback. I'm glad we got him. Um, I also like his fight and his attitude. I love it. I can't wait to see how he does. Trade Tyreek Hill to the New York Giants. Oh man. Yeah, I agree. I agree with on the Marino thing. Anthony, you're right. I don't hold it against Marino at all. If anything, I just feel bad that he never got the chance. He never got it. A legitimate shot. I mean, he had some good teams here and there, but there was always glaring holes. And in order to be a Super Bowl contender and a good team, you gotta have stuff filling every spot. You gotta be decent everywhere. Let's look at this really quick. I'm running out of time because I gotta get to church, but I wanna look here. Um, oh man, Kendall Fuller's available. I'm just kidding. Yeah, I saw that the Rams are asking about Jalen Ramsey, and if that happens, let him go. I mean, I'm more worried now about Jalen Ramsey staying with the team. Okay, and it's not that I don't like Jalen Ramsey, but anybody who knows the stories behind Jalen Ramsey and how he is, um, he's not he's not a glue type player. He's kind of he goes off, he does his own thing. He doesn't really interact with people very much. That's why when he first came to the Dolphins, I was shocked to see him playing golf with Tua. In the offseason, I was totally shocked to see that because Jalen Ramsey just isn't that type of guy. Usually he's very standoffish and stays by himself, doesn't talk to media, doesn't do any of that stuff, takes fines instead of talking to the media after games. He's that kind of guy. And I don't fault him for that, but at the same time it's strange. So yeah, there's a few good cornerbacks in free agency right now. There are some players that could probably be snagged that fit that, good cornerback, experienced player, possibly a leader type situation. It doesn't surprise me that Ramsey did it. Let me read your question. Does this surprise you with Ramsey? To me, it doesn't. He has had a track record of doing this even when the Jaguars signed him to that contract. Yeah. And he demanded a trade. And even after the Rams won the Super Bowl, he did the same thing. Yeah. It doesn't surprise me. It doesn't. And when it happened, I was just kind of, and actually that was my reaction. Jalen Ramsey's requesting a trade. Well, they didn't say Jalen Ramsey. They said, we've mutually decided it was okay. That was Chris Greer's trying to save face. Jalen Ramsey requested this trade. Definitely. And I'm not going to venture a guess as to why. But what I do think is I think that Jalen Ramsey is coming near the end of his career, near the end of his his productive years, and he wants to get another Super Bowl, and I can understand that. So that's the only thing that I'm looking at here. I see him wanting to go, and I don't want him to be on the team and be unhappy. We can't have that. We need players who want to be here, who want to make something special. And that's not the kind of player we need. So all respect and love to Jalen Ramsey, but if he wants to go, let him go. And if it's back to the Rams, adios. Adios, muchacho. See you later, man. I'm okay with that. I love this time of day in Alaska. The light changes so fast. I have to open my window to let light back in because all of a sudden it just got dark. Clouds. So trade Tyreek Hill to the Giants for Hyatt and Slayton. I don't know. See, this is the problem. We can't just say trade. Trade this player, trade that player. Trading Tyreek Hill right now would be a huge financial mistake for Miami. Monumental. We need to wait till next year to trade Tyreek Hill, which means we need to keep him happy this year, throw him the ball. Not as much as that year where he got, 1,800 yards, but we need to throw him the ball. We need to keep him involved. We need to get him as good of a season as we can so that next year, after the season's over, we can get rid of him clean and clear and not hurt ourselves in the long run any further. But he needs to have a good year in order for us to get rid of him. Does that make sense? We need to get as much draft capital as we can, or trade capital as we can for Tyreek Hill. The only way to do that is for him to have a decent year this year. And stay out of the news, for crying out loud. The off-field issues need to not happen. So, and as far as Jalen Ramsey goes, he needs to go. It's his time. So if the Rams are the ones that want him, sure, give us a 4th-round pick. Down the road he goes. Realistically, we're not going to get more than a 3rd or 4th-round pick for Jalen Ramsey. That's just not going to happen. Especially if we want someone to kind of help out with the contract, which is ideal. Have a team willing to help with that contract to make it clean and clear so that we don't take quite the same hit that we would take otherwise. Because otherwise we're going to be paying for Jalen Ramsey. And we don't want to do that. There's going to be a dead cap hit. We need a team that will give a little bit of draft capital, 4th, 5th, 3rd round maybe, and maybe take a little bit of that money. That's the idea, but who knows? If you guys are in here and you like what you're hearing, you don't like what you're hearing, give me a like for the hate, give me a like for the love. If you know people who are Dolphins fans, share my channel with them. I'm new. I've only been doing this for about 10, 11 months. And I'm trying to grow it a little bit and put out a little better product. So if you got Dolphins fans, friends, tell them to come join the channel. Subscribe if you haven't. If you're here watching and you haven't been a subscriber, do that. I put out 2 or 3, sometimes 4 or 5 videos a week. So there's always something to look at. I cover just about everything involved with Miami. Yes, I am from North Pole, Alaska. But even from here, I can still get a better grip on things than a lot of people do. So I think we're in a good place. I don't think we're in the best position ever, no. But from where we were in the beginning of the season to where we are now, I'm encouraged. CB83, what's up, brother? Thanks for stopping in, man. Those of you that don't know, CB83 is probably one of my favorite Dolphins YouTubers. I love his style. I like his laid-back mentality. I like that he goes on there and fights with TD Fence Talk and everybody else. I like the way he does things. So if you haven't subscribed to Fence Take with CB83, go check his channel out as well. He's in the comments. Click on his name. Go do it. It's worth it. Yeah, I like the situation we're in a lot better than we were in the beginning of this off season. And like I said, there are some free agent cornerbacks that are worthwhile to look at. Like in the needs that we still have, I'm gonna make a video about that, and I'll cover cornerback, safety, offensive tackle, offensive guard, and any other thing that I think we need. But I'm realistically encouraged with a lot of this stuff. I'm realistically encouraged with this. I think there's a lot of things. Sounds great, dude. I would love to come on and do something with you. There will be a video for that, for needs that we have coming up. I'm also going to do a video on players that we have on the team that desperately need to step up this year, that need to make a jump, and that's going to be a good one. I'm excited for that. I've been working on that one for a while. That video is going to be, I think, at the end of this week is when I'm going to release that. Like I said, there's a lot of players that we have on this team that are capable of making that next step, and it's time. So if they can't, then it's time for them to hit the road. And if they can, go earn that money. Get on that field, earn that money, and make a splash. Overall, encouraged by the draft. Satisfied, yes. Not endlessly satisfied, not perfectly pleased. There are things we still need, yes. But as somebody who recognizes and loves the lineman side of life in football, I really feel like we definitely have nailed the draft. Not perfect, no. That's why my rating was an A-. I feel like we could have done a little better. But overall, definitely pleased with our draft picks and very pleased with our undrafted free agent signings. Time will tell how all this shakes up. Like I said, minicamp is coming up for the rookies. That's going to be a great thing to see. I can't wait to see how some of these guys stack up and get a little more information on them. I'll be looking at that with very, very excited eyes. I'm very excited to see it. Especially those 2 Central Michigan linemen that we signed. I'm super excited. And I can't wait to see if that center is going to be making the move to guard. I think that's going to happen. Definitely got players that can contribute right away. CB83. That's what I'm talking about. That I'd say probably 70% of those players can contribute right away. And the rest, like I said in the beginning of this live stream, I said that most of these players are going to make the team. And I can't remember a time where I came out of a draft thinking, man, most of these guys are going to make the team. This is one of those few drafts where I feel that way. And not just make the team, but contribute in some way, a palpable way. And I've never seen a group of drafted players with an overall similar mentality, work ethic, and attitude. And if you've watched my channel, if you've watched my stuff, I always talk about identity as a team and mentality and attitude as an individual player, and how the correct attitude and mentality leads to a team identity that we as Dolphins fans can be proud of. This is a step in that right direction. So I don't see it that way either. I don't think we're far off. I think we're closer than a lot of people think, and I think that this draft is indicative of that. Like I said, I would look for a few more moves in free agency coming up to kind of bolster the cornerback and the safety room. I do feel like Iffy will be a starter for this team in the safety room. As far as Ashton Davis goes, I don't really see him being a starter, but I do see him playing a lot. Maybe when we go to those 3 safety sets and things like that, I could see Ashton Davis jumping in and getting a significant amount of play time. But I do feel like we need one more safety. Julian Blackmon, that's my thought, from Indianapolis. Scheme fit, fantastic attitude, hard worker, and he's a missile for the ball. I think that would be a fantastic addition for us. Cornerback, Asante Samuel. There's a couple other players that are available in free agency that would be a great addition. And there's a lot of cornerbacks that are available in free agency that have said straight up in their interviews that they would love to come to Miami. Players want to be a part of change. And when you're coming from certain teams, the appeal of Miami, there is an appeal there. It's not a bad place to be. It's not a place where players don't want to be. This is not that place. Some of the mainstream sports media would like to make you think that. It's not true. Mainstream sports media is wrong on a lot of things, constantly. And it's because they don't dedicate themselves to a team, and they don't do any kind of deep end research or looking into these teams. All they do is they stay on the surface, and they make these all-inclusive, judgmental type of statements because they just don't know much about the situation. So take what you hear on ESPN and CBS Sports and all those things, Fox Sports, with a little grain of salt, because it's just not the way usually. It's not the way they're making it out to be. So here we are. Draft is over. Moving forward at the off season, I think we're in a good spot. Not the best spot, but we're in a good spot, ladies and gentlemen. And if we want a team with a proper mindset, attitude, mentality, and identity, if we want that from our team, we as fans need to show the same kind of mentality, attitude, mindset, and identity. So toughen up, Dolphins fans. Suck it up. Here we are, moving through this off season. The Dolphins need our support. When they do things right, we need to let them know that we think they did things right. In this situation, in this draft, we did things right. That's it for me today, guys. I appreciate you guys being here. If you haven't subscribed, please do that. Throw down a like before you leave. Fins up. Stay hopeful if you can. And we'll talk to you